Lucky Boys Podcast.
So because Philadelphia, they're not triggered for Section 203 of the Voting Rights Act. That's why they're only mandated for English and Spanish. And this all, I promise you, every little thing that we're talking about right now boils down to the census and how much voter turnout we get from the Asian American community.
So that's why it's very important to fill out the census so that they are aware that we exist within those communities.
Exactly, Asian representation. Because it's the same thing with voting. If we don't vote, if we don't represent ourselves, if it seems like we're not there or we're this little that our issues don't matter.
Right. Also, the formula, I didn't get to talk about that. So how it gets triggered is that after every census, they do something called redistricting, where they find populations, pockets of communities in a certain state. Either your threshold is 5 to 6% of your area, or you're 10,000 of your area. That can determine whether we get the Asian language triggered for Section 203.
So there needs to be a certain amount of people that's living within that community in order to qualify
like a
or
need,
be
right? To show that there's a
recognized.
need, yeah.
Right. So there has been a lot of population changes over the course of the last 10 years in the area where I'm living right now. Because back then it was like Italians, Russians. Now it's like a bunch of Chinese.
Yeah.
And I don't know how personally to convince Chinese aunties to fill out their census.
It's
important.
Right, because I think a lot of them, like, they just don't trust the government or whatever it is. They're like, why do you need my information for? Why? It's
Some of them
ridiculous.
quite don't understand what it is
They
at
don't.
all. Yeah.
They don't. I do want to ask, like, so you guys have been doing this for quite a while. You've seen a lot, and especially within the Asian community. How have things changed, or has it changed at all in the last decade with regard to voting and just being involved in politics?
I'm gonna jump right.
Go right ahead,
I
Judy.
get so
I'm gonna sit back
angry.
right here. Go ahead.
No, I mean, in terms of voter turnout, when I was doing it in 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, during the exit polls, I see a lot of older Chinese American voters coming out to vote, grannies with their cane, dudes with their walkers.
Yeah.
And I don't see a single Asian American professional. Maybe I see four.
What?
Oh, no, I'm lying. Maybe they are 10% of what I saw back then. And they usually come right after work. But within the past 10 years, I feel like a lot more Asian American younger folks are coming out to vote. And I don't know what the shift is. Maybe it's because they're not necessarily liking where the political climate is going after 2016, that they feel like, oh, maybe it is their duties to come out and vote. But back then, I was just so disappointed to see all these old people coming out and not a single, okay, I shouldn't say that. That's like generalization.
The majority you saw more as the seniors, right?
Right.
But I guess the voter turnout for people within our age demographic sitting here is just very weak, right? And are you still seeing that now with the ratio being so... the variance between the two is just so off, where you're still seeing mostly seniors, which I'm actually surprised to hear that, where they're completely outnumbering the youth?
So in Philadelphia, because we were there in 2019, I would say it's more 60-40 now.
60-40 which way?
60 senior, 40 younger folks. And younger folks, I mean people 50 to, from like 20s to 50. Are the younger people I'm talking about.
So you are seeing the gap starting to close.
Right. And I think a lot of seniors are more compelled to come out and vote because their health care depends on it. And they don't necessarily have the privilege of working and having their employers provide the health care for them. And I think that will wake up a lot of the older generation, especially my parents' age. I was like, yo, mom, you gotta vote. And she was like, why do I have to vote? Why am I spending my time waiting online? And I was like, if you want your health care and keep your medicine costs down, then you have to go out and vote. And so she's like, oh, okay. And I told her I'll bring her. And actually, in every state, you can bring a person of choice, just not your boss or your union leader to go there and help you translate the ballot. It's the Section 208 of the Voting Rights Act.
And is it also like because your mom wasn't comfortable going to vote? Is it because there wasn't anyone representing them at the polling location? Right. That's why it's important to have someone, a translator, to be there so that they can advocate just in case or translate certain questions that they might have. Right.
Yeah, they should, like you said, there should always be an interpreter to help. Like when I went to Philadelphia, that young high schooler didn't show up, so I ended up doing 2 jobs. Right. Which was fortunate because like I said before, if it wasn't me, who were able to help these Chinese seniors? So those seniors who lived nearby already knew who they wanted to vote for. Right. So it wasn't so difficult. But the difficult part was helping them how to use the machine. And that year, it was a new machine for Philadelphia. And it was this huge, long strip of paper that you had to slip in a precise way into the machine, right? And then on the panel, you select the names that you want. And then it would also show up on another screen, and it was this tiny. Do you remember that?
I was outside the poll site, so I didn't see it.
But I was actually the one with them in the machine because I had to. They asked me, well, if I could help them. I said, sure. But I can't imagine all these seniors trying to read like the New York Times, like this on the screen. How do you see that? So I said, so I cannot tell them. I can say, is this the one you selected? Right. And they'll look back at the mailer if that's the candidate one. And I read the name back from it. I go, yeah. You go, Haila. Okay. Just to make sure that I selected the right one for them. This is it, right? Okay. Then you press, enter, whatever. Then they'll put the vote through. But I can't imagine if there wasn't anybody there, like they would just like walk out or walk away.